Hey everyone, Squee913 here, and welcome to a massive League update. A massive Dragon Ball Z League update. I have a lot of information for you guys. If you're a fan of Dragon Ball Z League, you need to hear this stuff. If you are not a fan of Dragon Ball Z League, you can go do whatever you are dismissed. You may go. You can leave early, go study. If you don't know what Dragon Ball Z League is, let me try to succinctly describe it very quickly. I think I just repeated myself there. Dragon Ball Z League is something we do with this game, Dragon Ball Z Tenkaichi 3, where we make 16 teams of 5 players who all have a common theme. Say all Nameks, all Saiyans, all people named Gohan. And these 16 teams compete against each other in a sports league of 15 weeks, and they have win-loss records, they have divisions, and the people who have the highest win-loss records move on to the playoffs, and they compete against each other for the coveted Tenkaichi Bowl Championship. And we're about to start Season 4, so if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, you can take part in. You can go to the forums, you can declare a team that you want to support, and then you can help other fans of that team decide what custom patars and abilities each player has. So you get to build the team up. The matches themselves are computer versus computer, so you don't have any control over how they fight, you know, in the match, but you can help build them to determine how they perform and what abilities they have in the match. So, now that that's explained, let me get into the information, the updates. First of all, I said a while ago that we're getting ready to get started, and we're ready. We are going to be starting the preseason on March 9th, which is a week from this Saturday. Dragon Ball Z League, for the foreseeable future, unless things may change, but for the foreseeable future, will be held Saturday nights. Not quite sure what time. Maybe like 11:30 p.m. Central Time. It'll be a bit late, but that's just the way it's going to have to be. And of course, it'll be not only streamed live, but it'll also always be recorded and put up on YouTube. But we're starting the preseason in a little bit over a week. And the reason why we're starting this earlier is because we want to have a bit of a longer preseason. We're going to have a 4-week preseason to give you guys more time to test things, and I'll explain why we're doing that later. But here's the way it's going to work. We have the divisions set up. We have the schedule set up, and I will put a link in the description to who's in what division and what the schedule is. As far as divisions go, I basically just ranked teams from best win-loss record to lowest win-loss record, and then just divided them by 4. And the highest went to North Kai, and etc., etc., etc. The link in the description will show you exactly who's in whose division, and there will also be, and that same post will also be the schedule, so that you can take a look at the schedule, see who you're facing, when you're facing them, and then start planning your rotations. Because remember, this season, every team has 5 players. Even though in every match you're only going to have 4 players participating. So each week you're rotating a player out, and we need a schedule for the whole 15 weeks of who rotates when. So you guys need to get that done before the main season starts. You don't need it by the time the preseason starts, but by the time the main season starts, we need a schedule from you. And of course you can change it at any time, but we just need a schedule in case you don't post something for a week. We still know who to rotate out. As far as the preseason, the way it's going to work is this. We're not going to be facing people in our own division for 2 reasons. 1, we're having 4 weeks, not 3, so that doesn't really work. And 2, it doesn't make sense to do it that way, because the way the schedule is set up, it's very possible that you could face someone in the preseason, and then the very next week in the main season you face them again, and we don't want that. So the preseason is going to work like this. The last 4 people on your regular season schedule are going to be the 4 people you face in the preseason. Okay? And the reason for that is so that A, you don't get like a preview of who you're about to fight anyway, and also it's a kind of a chance to see how you changed over the season. You see how you did against them in the preseason, and then how you did against them at the end of the season, and see if there's any big improvement or change. There is one caveat to this. In the preseason, you're going to be playing with all 5 members of your team. You're not going to be rotating anyone out during the preseason, or the playoffs for that matter, but that's a long way off. So during the preseason, you have 5-man teams, because we want everyone to get a chance to get on the field and test their abilities. So, preseason start on the 9th. We'll have 4 weeks of the preseason, and what else? Testing. As far as testing goes, we are not going to be allowing enormous amounts of testing, and I'll get to why in a second. What we are going to be focusing our testing on are teams that do not have a 5th player yet. We're going to do tests to help you try and choose your 5th player. And teams, of course, that have already requested tests, we'll try and get those done. And we're going to try and do some tests for new players, players that you haven't had a chance to really work with yet. So maybe 5th leg players who you are new to the team, you haven't had a chance to test. We're going to try and let you test for those. Now, here's the really, really exciting news. I know a lot of you guys are going, but Squee, what about the all-star, player, the guy that gets to use 7-point customization? Do we keep the same one? Is it going to be random select? How are we going to do it? And the truth is, we are not going to have an all-star player this season. We are not going to allow one person to use 7 points, because we're letting everyone use 7 points. I did a lot of digging, and thanks to Derangel and a very fine gentleman on the PCX, as the emulator forums, we found a way to actually modify the game itself so that everyone has 4 bars of health. That means everyone. Pan, Kid Gohan, Raccoon, Nappa, everyone has the same amount of health. Which means we no longer have to use 2 points on some characters to get the health where it needs to be, which means everyone can make 7-point builds now. Every team, every person on the team now gets 7-point builds. And that is a very, very exciting piece of news if you know what Dragon Ball Z. If you've been with us before and you know how the build system works, I'm pretty sure every single one of you just kind of jumped in your chair. It can be a complete game changer. So, this is why we're not going to be allowing for a lot of testing outside of the preseason, because there's going to be way too many tests. Now that you know this, every single one of you are going to go to your teams and ask for 7-point build tests, and there's no way we'd ever be able to accommodate that. So we're going to basically make it a trial by fire thing. Since all of us are going to be new to these 7-point builds, all of us are going to be testing them out in the preseason matches. I wish that you could just suggest or give us a test and we could just test it for you. But there's no way we're going to be able to fulfill all those orders, especially when we're still trying to get everyone 5th member and get all that stuff sorted out. So it's going to be a trial by fire. You're going to make a 7-point build, and you're going to see how it works in preseason 1, and then you're going to adjust from there. That's why we're giving you 4 weeks in the preseason to try and test your builds. Got it? So I would suggest that you use your orders to help test your players. In other words, if you did in preseason 1, you had a character that didn't even step on the field, make sure he comes out first the next week so that you can help test his build. Okay? So, and then of course once the season starts, the only thing we allow testing for is computer AIs, not builds. So this is going to be a big trial by fire. We're going to see how it goes, but it's the best way to handle it. So, 7-point builds, very exciting. A couple of other things that we need to get into. Dragon Ball Warriors and Team Derp are currently coachless at the moment. The coaches have stepped down. And a lot of times what we do is we just let them choose a successor, but neither of them have chosen a successor. And it just so happens that these 2 teams are also 2 of the worst teams in the league. So whoever takes over the position of coach really needs to know what they're doing, because these teams really need help. They need a coach that understands the system well and can really build this team into something better. So what we've decided to do on the staff is to kind of have a competition. If you are interested in being a coach for Dragon Ball Warriors or Team Derp, here's what you're going to do. You are going to submit a build on the forums. I'll have a thread there for it. You're going to submit a build for every character on your team. And for right now, we're going to assume neither of them have actually chosen their 5th character yet. But for the time being, for the purpose of the test, we're going to assume the 5th characters, even if this isn't exactly who they're going to choose. So for Team Derp, it's going to be Hercule, Supreme Kai, Raditz, Android 19, and Yajirobe. Those are the 5 characters. Now this may change, especially if you're the new coach and you decide to kick someone out and your team wants someone else, that's fine. But for now, for this test, those are the 5 people you're going to be making a build for. For Dragon Ball Warriors, it's going to be Devilman, Nam, Kid Goku, I'm forgetting the last person, Kid Goku, Devilman, Poop. I forgot the last person on the team. Well, it was Yajirobe, I think. Crud, I don't even remember. Duh, I'm a derp. Okay, it's Kid Goku, Early Goku, Nam, Devilman, and Tambourine. That's the 5th player. We're choosing these players because we think these are the most likely to go to Team Derp and Team Dragon Ball Warriors. Doesn't mean it is who's going to go, but it's one of their best choices that they have. So, what you're going to do is you're going to announce which team you want the coaching position for. And I would suggest you choose one. Don't say I want to coach either or. Just say I want to choose Derp or I want to coach Dragon Ball Warriors. And you make a build for each character and you explain why you made this build. The more detailed, the better. You say, hey, I put this on this guy because I want him to be able to do this. You submit a build for all 5 characters. And then you explain why you're making that build for them and why you think it'll work. And then on the staff, we will go over this, we'll discuss it, we'll debate it, and then we will choose who we think has the best grasp of that team. Now, this may seem a bit complex, and it may seem a bit weird that we're doing it that way, but like I said, these are 2 of the worst teams in the league, and everyone on the staff wants these teams to do better, wants them to do well. So we want to choose a coach that can really understands how the mechanics of that team works and can really work at making it better. If you're a fan of one of those teams, you are of course more than welcome to sign up for the competition. And since you've been working with that team for a while, you probably already have an advantage. But we're not just going to go ahead and hand it to you guys unless you can show that you really understand the system and would be able to work with that team. If you know nothing about Dragon Ball Z League and you want to be a coach, that's going to be tricky because you're going to have to understand how the league works, how the custom Pataras work, what Pataras have worked in what ways in the past, etc., etc., etc. This is more for people who have been following this league or experienced with the builds and how that works. But anyone's welcome to submit an entry. And like I said, the more detailed, the better. There'll be a thread for this for both teams. Just declare which team you're building this for. Okay? That's how it's going to work, and sometime within the next week, so get it in fast, we're going to choose a coach for both those teams. And what we're going to do is we're going to use your first build in the first week of the preseason. Okay? And that's the way it's going to work. Whichever coach we choose, that's the build you'll use for the first week of the preseason. Of course, if you choose another character other than the 5th ones we suggested, which, quite honestly, I don't know why you would. Tambourine is amazing, and Yajirobe, I should probably point out, we are lifting the sanction on his Sensu Bean abilities. He's allowed to do whatever he can to use his Sensu Beans. Only if he goes to Dragon Ball to Team Derp. So, anyway, so if you're interested in that competition, go there and do what I just said, okay? And then we will decide. Some people said, well, what if we have a tournament, you know, to choose whose build was the best, etc., etc. We just don't have time. We've got a week and a few days, and we've already got 100 other things to do on the staff, and we just wouldn't have the time to set up a tournament like that. So if you're offering, it's fine. We're just going to do it this way, keep it on a conceptual, logical level, and just explain why you're doing what you're doing, and we'll choose from that. Okay? I keep feeling there's like one more thing I'm trying to think of. Hang on. Oh! Yes, there are tons of other things I need to talk about. We're not even close to done yet. Because I am partnering with TGN now, I am loath to use the original background music I used to use because that's all copyrighted material, and let's just not, you know, tread in dangerous waters, shall we? So we're going to be using the music from the game. And since we're using the music from the game, there's 20 different tracks. Just like we let you guys choose a home map, we're going to let you guys choose a home theme song, which will be the song that plays when you're playing at home. And the way this will work is I'll have a thread with the 20 songs and a link to the 20 songs so you can hear them. And it's going to be a first come, first served basis. You post there and you say, we want this song, and that's it, it's yours. We just don't have the time to fight over it. You know, if 2 people want the same song, you know, like when they had one at the home stadium, we'd let you fight over it. We just don't have time to do that right now. Like I said, we're moving very quickly so that we can get the preseason started, so we can give you more time to test your 7-point builds. And the honest truth is, I think you'll all agree that testing your 7-point builds is more important than fighting over your background music. So it's going to be a first come, first serve option. You're allowed to finagle with each other to see if you can convince them to let you have a certain song, but just that's the way it goes. Since I'm making this, since I'm putting up the videos and all that stuff, I will wait at least 3 or 4 days before I choose what song Earth Defenders get, just to be fair. Another thing, we're adding a few extra Pataras to the lineup during the preseason to see how they work. This does not mean that they will be there forever. We want to see what they're like and how they work and if they give an unfair advantage or not. So for the preseason only, for now, we're allowing you to use Eternal Life. Eternal Life is the upgraded version of Dinde's Healing, which regenerates health over time. Dinde's Healing was 2 points and you regenerated... I think it was 1 bar of health every 3 minutes is about the process or the time it took. Eternal Life is 4 points, so it's twice as expensive, and you heal twice as fast. You heal a bar in I think like 1:30. So we're gonna see how that works. The healing rate is phenomenal, but the point cost is very high. We're going to try it out in the preseason, we're going to see what you guys do with it, and then from there we're going to decide if this is something that we're going to allow in the main season or not. Another thing that we are allowing, and we're probably going to allow this throughout the whole season, is in addition to the blue Pataras we already let you use, which is +2 to 1, -1 to something else, like +2 attack, -1 defense, or +2 charge, -1 power. We are allowing +1 Pataras, which is like attack +1, super +1, charge +1, all the +1s that cost 1 point. We're allowing you to use them as well. However, we are maintaining the restriction of 1 type of Patara per team and 1 blue Patara per player. Let me explain that in case that sounds confusing. You can only use a type of blue Patara once on 1 person on your team. So if I want to use super +2 power down 1, I can use it, but only for 1 person. I can't put it on someone else too. And each player can only have 1 blue Patara. So if you want to put attack +1 on someone, you can't also put defense +1 or super +2 power -1. 1 blue per player, 1 type of blue per team. Got it? And if there's a question on that, ask me and I will explain it better. We're hoping that this will add a lot more variety into how you can build your characters. I know, like last season, there were a lot of teams that were like, man, I have 2 people that are really great at melee, but I can only use 1 melee builder. Well, now you can use a bigger melee builder and then a +1 melee maybe to just complement someone's style. Or if you have a 6-point build and you just don't know what to throw on that 7th point, now you have just a little boost to something that you can add to it. So we're going to see how that goes too. Oh gosh, I almost forgot. Eternal Life is already, even in the preseason, it's restricted from characters that have healing B1 moves and healing transformations. Okay? So if you're Freezer, Cell, or a giant ape that gets health back when he retransforms, or Cooler, or any of those type of characters, or a character that has a healing B1, like Sensu Bean, or Sleep, or any of those healing B1 moves, you cannot use Eternal Life. That is too much of an advantage to have that excessive life heal and use that healing transformation or B1. So that's part of the reason why we're a little iffy on if this is going to work or not, because we have to restrict it from some people, and that's why we're going to use it in the preseason. Now, I want to stress this, because I know this might become a problem for some of you. The preseason does not count. It is not important if your team wins or loses. What's important is you trying to test your team out to see how they perform. So, if someone uses Eternal Life and it turns out to be extremely overpowered and you get your team slaughtered, don't fret. Don't worry about it. It does not matter. Because, like I said, wins and losses don't count. What you should be concentrating on is how your build worked, not whether you won or lost. I think that is about it. I'm going to go ahead and post this up here. It might be a day or two before I get the songs up for you to take a look at and see what songs go on what, or what songs are available for you to choose. I will get the thread up for the coaching applications pretty much right when this video goes out. I can't think if there's anything else I need to discuss. If there's any questions whatsoever, ask them in the comments, or it would be much better if you actually went to the forums and asked them in the general questions, or general topics, simply so they don't have to keep checking 3 different channels to see if anyone posted questions there. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and end this here. It's been a long enough of an update video, but like I said, very exciting news. Everyone can now use 7-point builds, and for the people who have Nappa and Raccoon, yes, I know you're restricted to 4 bars of health now, but I think you would gladly trade that extra bar of health to be able to give all 4 of your players that step onto the field a 7-point build. And the simple truth is, we could not balance out the teams without them losing a bar of health. So I'm really excited for this season. I think the 7-point builds are going to be huge game changers. Some teams that weren't great may be phenomenal with the 7-point build. We just don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. And that's what the preseason is going to be all about. So, March 9th is preseason. You have to get your build for the preseason, your 7-point build, in by midnight on March 8th. Okay, which is Friday at midnight. You have to have, and that's Friday at midnight Central Time, so GMT -6. You have to have your build in by then, or it will not count, and we will randomize a build for you. I think we'll just try and come up with what we think would be best for your team, so you really want to try and get your build in. So, like I said, 7-point builds. If you have not chosen a 5th member yet, like Dragon Ball Warriors, Derp, Earth Defenders, which I'm working on Earth Defenders, guys, so I'm working on a test. If you have not chosen a 5th player yet, you can request a test for, like, if you're trying to choose between this person or that person, you can request a test for them. However, you can only request a 5-point build test, because we're not going to let you use it as an excuse to test a 7-point build. So only 5-point build, request a test between 2 people, and we'll try and get that test up for you so you can make your choice. But you need to choose quickly because you have a week and 2 days. Okay? That's about it, guys. If you have any questions, like I said, go to the forums, in the general topics, ask a question. The staff members will be there to help you. Okay? Yeah, so I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited, and we'll see you in the preseason.